Hi everyone. Welcome back to the game between Topalov and Anand, round 2 of the candidates tournament. Now, this is a very well-known position, king and 4 versus king and 3, and it's known to be a relatively simple draw most of the time. People have lost it before. For example, Kasparov lost this game in a famous game to Piquet in sometime in the 90s. But the key points here are a few things. First of all, it's white to move, and white played king to f3. So you should pause your video and tell me what move you would play for black here. Alright, so I'm going to show you now. This is a key move, and basically the key idea behind the entire endgame, which, well, I guess they would say every Russian schoolboy knows this one. The key here is to play the move h5. Now, I'm not saying it's losing if you don't go h5, but white's plan would be to go g4, restricting your pawns, because now anytime you go h5, you've created a weakness. Okay, admittedly, I can just take the pawn. But the key in these types of positions, white wants to go g4, black wants to go h5. The other key for white is to somehow, if there's any way, like we want to create a passed e-pawn somehow. It's not super easy to do that, and I'm not sure that g4 exactly helps. But the thing about h5, when you play this move, it makes it impossible for white to create a passed pawn. There's just nothing they can do. And you can kind of figure that out. Maybe they can make a passed h-pawn, but that doesn't help. But like now you just kind of chill out, and they go g4, and you take it, and they take back. Now let's see how it can go differently if white went g4. I mean, it's still, I'm not sure, I believe the position's still technically drawn. It's just white can suddenly do some annoying things. I'm not sure what the best way to try to win this is, but let's say black just moves the rook back and forth for a bit. I'm kind of curious, you know? I still believe the position is supposed to be a draw, but okay, I see one problem already, actually. Or like one minor annoyance. How do we set this up? Let's try the move f4. Alright, let's say you keep going back. Now I go to move h5. So now I have multiple ideas. Number one, if you take, I take with the rook. And now these pawns start to look menacing, and these pawns are both weak and isolated. You can't push the pawn. And if you let me take by moving the rook back again, and then take with the pawn, now I do have a passed pawn. If you took with a king, again, these pawns are much weaker than before. So basically, when you go h5, you kind of stop white from being able to do anything annoying to your pawn structure. Anytime they push a pawn, you just trade it off. And in positions like this, you want to trade pawns, not pieces. You trade rooks, you lose. You trade pawns, you probably draw, because rook and 1 against rook is going to be an easy draw for many theoretical reasons. Again, for a lot of players, 2000 or 2200 and above, this may be very elementary stuff, but I think it's important to refresh this, because this position, or this type of position, happens all the time. It doesn't just have to be 4 against 3. Just playing h5 for black in these types of positions, even with pawns on the other side of the board, or playing g4 for white, pretty common ideas, and it does make your life easier. And the more you understand about just the typical ideas here, the better you are at chess and endgames in general. So I hope this was illuminating to some of you. And of course, Anand played h5, and Topalov didn't even try that hard because it's just well known to be super easy to draw this position. Take. He ended up doing some weird forcing thing, which was kind of unnecessary. But he traded rook somewhere. He just traded here and calculated it out to a draw. It's weird because usually when you're down a pawn in a king and pawning game, it's risky. But Anand trusted his calculations, and it just happened to be a forced draw in that particular instance because black's king was quite active. He did not need to do that. He absolutely did not need to trade rooks in this position. It's a draw if he just goes back. He just figured, why prolong the suffering? I'm frickin' Anand 2780. I calculate it to a draw, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to trust myself. But in general, you want to be careful going into a king and pawning game. You have to be damn sure it's a dead draw, or else you've just thrown away a draw and lost due to a miscalculation. Or if you go here, you don't really have to calculate that much. I mean, the only thing is like, is F4 interesting? Rook check, king here. I don't know. It's kind of like, I doubt it. Let's see what Houdini says. Yeah, it says it's just a draw. King E5. Anyway, that's all. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.